as I walked through the door, for about 20 seconds, I honestly thought about ending my life. I thought, that's it. I'm bankrupt. I have nothing. And I have no one to blame but myself. I got myself into this situation because I was stupid. I thought this would just go on forever. I couldn't blame anybody. And I knew it. I wanted to blame my parents. I wanted to blame the world. I wanted to blame my employer who didn't pay me enough. But I did it. Well, obviously, I didn't follow through on that because I'm still here talking with you. And so instead, what I decided to do was, you know what? I need to come up with another plan. I decided in that moment, I'm going to go put on the one suit that I owned. I got back in my car and I drove to the local shopping mall and I went and applied for a second job at a department store. And that night, I started working my second job.
Welcome to the Sock Drawer Podcast, where life is messy, but we always find meaning in it. Every week, we pull out the stories, the lessons, and the hidden gems. And then we ask the big question, keep it or kick it? If you're ready for real talk, brave steps forward. I'm your host, Lisa Begley, and you're listening to the Sock Drawer Podcast. Let's jump right in. Here we go. Have you ever reached a moment in your life, maybe in your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, where you quietly wondered to yourself, is it too late for me? What if the belief that you are behind is really the only thing holding you back? Well, it just might be. And today's conversation is about rewriting that story. It's about how reinventing your relationship with money can reshape your relationship with possibilities. My guest today, well, he didn't start his career as a financial advisor. His path moved through nonprofit work, charitable gift planning, education, and fundraising before stepping in to wealth advising, and then later becoming a trusted radio voice. His journey isn't about starting over. It's about evolving, expanding, and stepping into a higher identity, something so many of us today are even trying to do. And if you've been wondering whether you're too late to make that change, well, Damon is here to show you that you're right on time. Hey there, Sock Drawer family. Welcome. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to Damon King, a certified financial planner, a wealth advisor, educator, and radio personality whose work centers on helping people in midlife gain clarity, courage, confidence around money and reinvention. Before entering the financial space, Damon, a certified financial planner, spent years serving nonprofits, guiding families as a charitable gift planner. He later transitioned into wealth advising and is now with Chapelwood Financial Services, the advisors to millionaires. He has become a trusted voice on the radio, co-hosting with their CEO. It's all about the money, honey, teaching our listeners how to think differently about wealth, purpose, and financial freedom. And I think personally what stood out most for me about Damon is how deeply he understands that money isn't just about math. It is a mindset. It's an identity. It's a legacy. And today, he's here to unpack all of that with us with some heart, humor, and honesty. Damon King, welcome to the Sock Drawer Podcast family. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Lisa. After all that, I expected like applause, angels singing from the heavens. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy of that.
You are. You absolutely are. And we're so grateful to have you on here with us. And I just want to dive right in. I have so many questions burning just to ask you. All right, let's go backwards first. All right. So let's talk about before becoming a wealth advisor, before becoming a financial educator. Who was Damon in the earlier chapters of your life? Where did it all begin?
Where did it all begin?
There's that question.
Yes. So, I'll spare you the details of my childhood, and I'll just skip straight to my professional life. So I got a 4-year degree, went to college. I got a marketing degree, and I was a singer all through high school and in college. I was on a vocal scholarship in college. And like a lot of people who go that path, I thought I had real talent. I thought I was going to be on Broadway. I thought I was going to be in operas. And I even went and auditioned for a major opera company. I auditioned for some traveling Broadway companies. And when I would go on these auditions, you're warming up. They've got little areas. These are like in, convention centers and different places. And so you're trying to warm up wherever you can. And I would hear these people singing off in the distance, and I'm thinking, That's what real talent sounds like, and it doesn't sound like me.
Oh,
And I realized you can be a very good singer, just like you can be a very good basketball player, but there is a major difference between somebody who truly has the talent to be a professional and the
yeah.
person who just has the talent to be, you know, very good, maybe do community theater, but, is not professional.
Yeah.
So I knew I was probably not going to be an entertainer for a living. And so I decided, you know what, I'll get into the business side. And I got a business degree, a marketing degree, graduated college, and I ended up not in the entertainment industry. I ended up working in the financial industry. My first job out of college, I worked at a credit union in the marketing department.
Okay.
Interestingly, I worked there for 3 years, and I actually got fired from that job. I got fired from that job because I had used my computer to update my resume, and that was deemed an improper use of company equipment. So they let me go. Now here I was 24 years old at the time,
Hmm.
and I remember going back to my apartment. I'm in tears. I'm crying in the car because I'm worried about money. Yeah, but mostly I'm worried about where am I going to get health insurance and what are my friends going to think of me and what are my family going to think of me? What am I going to do?
Oh,
So it just so happened that same year I had auditioned for and got selected to sing in a large community chorus in Oklahoma City, where I'm at. And I was singing in that chorus, and I had rehearsal that night. And we were getting ready for a big concert. And I went to rehearsal, and just off the cuff, I went up to the executive director. His name was James. And I said, James, I'm a student of marketing. Before I auditioned, I'd never heard of this chorus. How do you market it? And we talked and talked. And then he said, why are you asking me all this? Are you looking for a job? And I said, well, I don't know. What do you got? He said, well, I need help with fundraising. And I said, fundraising? What? You want me to sell cookies and sausage door to door? I mean, what are we doing? Popcorn? What are we selling? I had no concept of what true
candy bars.
fundraising.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
candy bars. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, I'm gonna have to sell a lot of dollar caramel candy bars, okay, if you want to raise money for this organization. That's a lot of candy.
Yeah.
But then, he said, no, no, let's talk. So that's actually how I got into fundraising.
Okay.
I got into fundraising at that time. And what's interesting, Lisa, is that, I have an idea for a book that I'm working on, and I'll give everybody the working title. It's called like Fail Your Way to Success. Okay.
Okay.
Because I truly believe that the pathway to our success, if you look behind you, it's paved with your past failures. Because
Mm-hmm.
only through failure do you learn what doesn't work. But more importantly,
So
your
true.
failures are what you believe was a failure. I got fired from a job. Most people would consider that to be a failure. But
Yeah.
that was a catalyst that sent me down the path to a 12-year career as a professional fundraiser in the
Amazing.
nonprofit world. Little did I know
Yeah.
that it also was the catalyst that opened the door to what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you that story here in just a second. But
Okay.
that's how I got into fundraising. And, I did that job for 3 years. Then I went and worked for a food bank for a few years. Then I went to work for the YMCA for 4 years. And then I
Amazing.
ended my career as a private fundraising consultant as
Hmm.
I was considering a transition into the world of wealth management.
Okay, so the transition, I'm interested in the transition. I would love to know somebody considering, maybe even someone younger considering fundraising as a path for a career. What advice would you have for them?
Well, first of all, I would say if you're going to go fundraise for any nonprofit organization, it really
Yeah.
helps if you have a passion for the work that organization does.
Okay.
One time in my fundraising career did I take a job just because of the money. I was married, I had a son, I had a second son on the way. She wasn't working, so I was the sole income, and I felt it was my responsibility to improve my family's financial position. So I did what I cautioned other younger fundraisers not to do. I took a job just because of the money.
Mm,
And it turned out to be a major mistake. I did not have a heart and passion for the mission. It was just a job. But fundraising is sales. It's a sales job. And if you're going to be
mhm.
in fundraising, number one, you better know how to sell. You better have a passion for what it is you're selling, a concept, an idea, a mission. And most important, and I would say this is most important for anything you do, you need to learn how to become a storyteller,
Mm,
because human beings do not part with their money because of facts and figures. The only way, the truest way, you're going to get people to give you money for something, you got to touch them emotionally. You got to
yeah.
tap into something that's going to make them feel something. And when we feel something, that's the moment that we buy. And so if you're going to be in fundraising, understand it's a sales job. You're not just asking someone for money, you are asking them for an idea. And the best way to do that is learn how to become a storyteller and learn how to pick up the phone and call somebody.
Yes.
It's so
Yes. I
rare that
am.
we get that human personal touch that if you do that, you'll stand out
Good.
above 95% of the people.
That is so true. And that just that personal, even after the fact that I always said this to my teams, personal thank you note, handwrite it, send it, and say thank you.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't agree with
Include
you more.
include some little detail about that person, even
That
on Facebook.
exchange.
I like their comment, and then I write a reply that is personal to that person. Some little detail about their life, some memory. Hey, Jim, thanks so much. I remember that time we did blah, blah, blah. Man, I sure miss seeing you. Take care.
Yeah.
You
Oh.
know, and
It
people love
means
that kind
so
of stuff.
much.
It
Yes, and
does.
it means so much to the person receiving it. I love that you do that. That is great advice, great idea. And I wish we could just encourage more people to respond in that manner, especially now, social media. I know we're in a rabbit hole right now, but social media, they give you like 4 options. You can just click, congratulations, happy birthday, this, that, thank you,
Yeah.
whatever. You don't even
That's
have to type it out yourself. So I
I
hear you
don't
on that.
need
I
I
am
don't
just
need the
grateful.
algorithm to respond for me. I'm a grown man. I can type up my own responses.
I love it. Well, so with that said, thank you for that advice. And I think it's important for them to understand passion and that it is sales. So thank you for putting that out there. Now, curious, you said you were going to share this story with us. Was there one pivotal moment or a series of moments that caused you to shift into wealth management and then in media, or that wasn't really intentional, right? The media piece, it was more kind of came along with it, or tell
Yeah,
me.
the
Yeah.
the radio part came later, but there is one singular moment. I call it the singularity. It was
Okay.
the moment that, when I look back now, absolutely changed the trajectory of my entire life. And becoming a financial advisor was kind of a byproduct of that. And it begins when I was at that credit union. It was a Friday night. I was leaving the office. And like a lot of people in their 20s, I got into a lot of credit card debt. I didn't really have any student loans. I had scholarships all through college. But my scholarships lasted 4 years, and it took me 4.5 years to graduate. And it was that last semester of college where I'd run out of cash to pay for it. So I did something I'd never done before. I used a credit card. I didn't own a credit card until I was 22 years old. And then I just turned 23 before, and I graduated in December. So I was a winter graduate. And I needed some cash to pay for my last semester in college. So I got a credit card. And I thought, you know what? I've got a job. I'll pay it off. No big deal. Okay. And if I had just paid it off and never used that credit card again, life would have been just fine. But
Hmm.
instead, I went out and got another credit card. And now I had access to $20,000
Mm.
in free money. And I used that money. And my
Free
buddies and
money.
I had two friends. We got a townhouse, all the three guys living together. Of course, we had to trick it out with all the cool stuff. And we had a little wet bar, which was exciting because, we wanted to be the place where all the girls would come over for parties and things like that.
Yeah.
And for 2 or 3 years, I lived life large. I had a great time. Then I found myself at 24 years old, and I was $17,000 in credit card debt.
Mm.
So now, flash forward to that Friday night. I get in my car and I look at my fuel gauge and I'm on empty. And I'm like, okay, well, there's a 7-Eleven near my apartment. And I lived in this tiny, junky little apartment. It was about 300 square feet because that's all I could afford at the time. And as I pulled up to 7-Eleven, I thought, how am I going to pay for this? I,
Mm.
I don't have any money left. I just paid my rent. I just made my car payment. I just made the minimum payment for my credit cards. I've maxed out all my credit cards. I don't have any. I literally have zero cash. Nothing. So I did what anybody would do. I started rummaging around in my car looking for spare change, or maybe I dropped $1 from one of my late night runs to McDonald's or whatever I did,
Yeah.
And I found 40 cents. I found 40 cents that had fallen down in the between the console and my seat. And I rummaged that 40 cents out, and I literally walked into 7-Eleven. And I was embarrassed, didn't want anybody to hear me, and I walked up, I said, "I would like 40 cents on pump number 1." And the guy was like, What'd you just say?" I said, "I said I want 40 cents on pump 1. Don't make me say it again." I'm glad you
It's
said this.
like,
I want 40
okay.
cents on pump 1, okay? So I went out. I don't know if you've ever pumped 40 cents worth of gas, but it's a quick squeeze of the pump.
Yeah.
And I put the gas in there, and I thought, okay, well, now that I bought 40 cents worth of gas, that'll basically get me around the corner. So what am I going to do then? And Lisa, in that moment, I sat in my car for about 5 minutes and I just bawled my eyes out. And even now, when I think back on it, it just chokes me up, and it's hard for me to talk about it because I was not raised in a family that didn't value money. Now, my family was poor, but we had everything we wanted. My mom and dad weren't extravagant spenders. We did never really talk about money, though, either. And see, that's a big problem in a lot of American families. Money is still taboo in our country.
Hmm.
Parents say, "Don't ask me how much I earn." Parents don't talk about money. You should be. You should be talking to your kids about money at an
Yeah.
early age. Explain that. My oldest son, who's now 14, when he was 5 years old, he understood the concept of a budget. We would go to the store and he'd say, "Dad, I want to get this." And nope, it's not in the budget. He didn't know what the word meant, but he knew as soon as I said the word budget, that meant something. That meant, no, I'm not getting this. So kids understand that. Anyway, I had
Yeah.
my pity party and I cried for 5 minutes. And I got in my car and I drove back to my apartment. And as I walked through the door, for about 20 seconds, I honestly thought about ending my life. I thought, that's it. I'm bankrupt. I have nothing. And I have no one to blame but myself. I got myself into this situation because I was stupid. I thought this would just go on forever. I couldn't blame anybody, and I
Yeah.
knew it. I wanted to blame my parents. I wanted to blame the world. I wanted to blame my employer who didn't pay me enough, but I did it. Well, obviously, I didn't follow through on that because I'm still here talking with you. And so instead,
Right.
what I decided to do was, you know what?
Thank goodness.
I need to come up with another plan. What am I going to do?
Hmm.
So I decided in that moment, I'm going to go put on the one suit that I owned. And I remember it had a hole in the right elbow of the jacket. And I put that suit on. I got back in my car and I drove to the local shopping mall and I went and applied for a second job at a department store. And that night, I started working my second job. So I worked 2 jobs. After about a month, I noticed that the extra money that I was making was going towards the debt. I was able to make a much bigger payment on the credit card that month because of the extra money, not just the minimum payment. Well, I didn't have a girlfriend because no girl wanted to go out with me. I didn't have any money. I didn't have a social life. I couldn't afford to do anything. So I thought, well, I've got about 6 to 8 hours overnight. I'll go get a third job. So then I went and got a third job loading trucks at a shipping company overnight. So I worked at the credit union from 8 to 5. I came home, put on my one suit to go work at the department store because men had to wear suits. And I worked there from 6 to about 9:30 when the store closed. Then I went home. I relaxed for maybe an hour, put on my little shorts and my T-shirt, went and I loaded trucks from about 11 o'clock until 5 o'clock in the morning.
Mm.
Came home, took a little nap, showered, and then did it all over again.
Wow.
I worked 3 jobs nearly round the clock for 18 months. And I told all of my friends, don't call me. I'm out for the next year and a half.
So let me ask you, during that time, what would you quantify as what belief or identity or expectation do you feel like you had to let go of during that in order to grow into your next chapter?
I was a big believer in things you can buy happiness. I was the definition. I was the poster boy for if you're feeling sad, just go shopping. That'll make you go buy a new pair of jeans, go buy a new pair of shoes, or take yourself out to eat. You had a tough week. You deserve it.
Mm.
And I rationalized those things. That was my thing. I didn't understand the concept of delayed gratification, or at least I understood it, but I didn't yet know how to leverage it. I also didn't understand the concept of compound interest, time value of money, so I wasn't investing any money. I lost basically 10 years of time. Now I look back now and I'm thinking, man, I could have so much more money saved if I had been investing all that money instead of spending it. So I get mad at myself about that from time to time. But I had to let go of the idea of spending will make me happy. I had to adopt and adapt to the identity of I am a worker. I am a saver. I'm going to deny myself everything good.
Mm.
I had to go scorched earth to get out of the scorched earth problem that I had created. My only entertainment was going to the library because it was free to check out books.
Yeah.
So the next big shift that I made in my mind was, well, I got myself into this. Why? Because I don't know what I'm doing. And while I made some mistakes, I'm a pretty smart guy. And I thought, you know what? Education. Education is what I need. I don't know who can teach me, but I know I can find books at the library. And that night, I went out and checked out a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. It's a very famous book.
I have
Everybody,
it.
there you go. You got it on your,
Yeah.
Everybody
Yeah.
knows this book. And if you haven't read it, you should read it. That book changed so much of what I thought, because here's something else. This is another mindset change. If you want to build wealth, if you don't want to be what you believe is used by the system, here's something, and this might be controversial for a lot of people. You need to stop acting like a victim. You need to stop having a victim mentality. You're not a victim, especially when it comes to money and finance. You need to learn how things work. Everybody, you, me, Warren Buffett, we all have the same tax code to use. Warren just knows how to use a hell of a lot better than you do. All right? We all have the same stock market to use. We all have the same pool of real estate to invest in. We all have the same opportunities to go and educate ourselves. Go pick up a book. Stop watching TV and go pick up a book. There are many studies done that show that millionaires, people with money, they have different habits than people that don't have money. And one of those key habits, people who are not millionaires tend to watch a lot more TV than people who are millionaires. Millionaires watch an hour or less of TV every day, and they spend most of their time reading. Self-improvement. And so I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I loved it. And I thought, I'm going to be the rich dad, because rich dad didn't have a college degree. He owned a business and he worked, but he didn't think of himself as a victim of the universe, of the system. He thought of himself as, I am going to create a system for me. And that led me down the path of reading, I don't know how many different books on investing, taxes, even things that I didn't even know existed, Social Security and Medicare, and I was like, I'm not an old person, but I'm going to learn about this.
Yeah, smart.
That is what then led me to, and so now I promise this is coming back around to becoming a financial advisor. So through all this, I'm educating myself. I'm working 3 jobs. And then lo and behold, after several months of doing this, some of my friends who I learned were also in debt. See, I thought I was the only one.
Yeah.
My friends saw what I was doing, paying off my debt. What they didn't see was that I was working 3 jobs to do it. And they came to me and said, Damon, can you teach us what are you doing? How are you doing this? And I said, well, you're not going to like my answer. I'm working 3 jobs to do it.
Yeah.
And then I started teaching them other concepts like, have you ever heard of mutual funds? Do you know how these things work? Are you putting into your company's 401k? Yeah, it's this cool thing that they have,
Yeah.
Pretty soon I was the guy that was in debt, who was terrible with his money, is now the guy that people are coming to asking questions about money, how to do it. And that is when I finally realized, you know what? I love teaching. I love using my example, and maybe I can save other people from making my stupid mistakes.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
thought
so
maybe there's
and
an
what
opportunity.
you're in your 20s at this point still?
That is right, yeah.
Okay, all right. I just wanna stay up with the story because
Yeah,
I
so I
love
was I
that.
was
That makes
I was
sense.
24 when this started, and by the time 18 months later, so by that time, what was I? I
Yeah,
was 26 or so, almost
yeah,
26, and I had whittled down the debt from $17,000 to about 5.
man,
I had paid
that's awesome.
most of it off,
Yeah.
and it took me some time, but I got there. I got there.
So the 3 jobs were what contributed to paying more, obviously, than the minimum amount.
Correct. That's
Was
right, yeah.
that the only thing that helped you? Was it have just working 3 jobs? Or was there any other kind of mindset or transition or things that were able to help you put yourself in a better space
Yes.
financially?
So during this time is when I made the transition into fundraising also. So I ended up getting a raise from going to the credit union to working in nonprofits. So I made a little bit more income. And one concept I had learned was, well, hey, anytime you get a raise, don't go spend it, invest it or pay off debt, which is what I did. So I used that extra income. When I
That's
got
great.
though into fundraising, I mean, I worked at the credit union, but I didn't really consider that to be a position where I had a lot of opportunity to learn from other people. I had a boss,
Yeah.
but we didn't spend a lot of time talking about self-improvement, continuing education. When I got into fundraising, I found that there was a network, a whole universe of other professionals out there. And this is the time, now I'm 20, 24, 25 or so.
Yeah.
I didn't really have professionalism. I wasn't a professional. And I had several mentors. And I remember I was working for the community chorus that I was singing in. And just upstairs was the office of the Philharmonic, the symphony in Oklahoma City. And there was a woman that worked there named
Amazing.
Jenny, and she had been there for many years. And I had been working for my agency for about a month. And she came down the stairs one day and she walked into my office. She said, "Stop what you're doing and come with me." I said, "Why?" She said, "Because there's something you need to see. There's somewhere you need to go." And I said, "Okay, where?" She said, "Don't ask. Just get in the car. I'm driving. There's lunch involved. You're gonna get free lunch." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. I like
Woo!
free lunch."
Yeah.
So she took me to a country club where the Oklahoma City chapter of the Association of Fundraising Professionals was meeting. I had no idea this organization even existed. And I
Yeah.
walked in and I saw that day and met that day people that to this day are friends and mentors of mine, even though I'm in a completely different industry. That career change, being open to that career change, taught me, it laid the groundwork for truly becoming a professional. And I learned the importance of networking, the
Mm,
importance of meeting other people who are in positions of influence, people who are in positions of power, decision makers. It didn't even dawn on me at that moment that the people I met that day, if I stayed in touch with them, would probably be the people that came to recruit me later on for other positions. And that's exactly what happened. I left
no
that
kidding.
organization 3 years later to go to the food bank because the woman that I had befriended and I had chaired a committee with her saw this young guy who was hungry and, talented. I had some talent for talking to people, and she recruited me to come take over the major gifts and estate planned giving society for the food bank,
Amazing. That's
which is then
amazing.
where I learned how to ask for not just, would you be willing to give $150? I learned how to ask for $1.5 million gifts.
Mm,
I learned how people could leave gifts in their will or their trust or charitable gift annuities. And all of that happened because I learned from other professionals how to become a professional. And you're very few people are self-made millionaires. It takes
mhm.
other people, and you need to learn how to network and you need to learn how to build relationships. And especially in fundraising, it's all about building relationships. But I'd say it's true of any profession you get into.
That is I just love that story, and it's so It's so true. And networking is something that I feel people miss the boat on at times. And I know, not to take it back to COVID, but I think COVID had a lot to do with that. It secluded us for so long. To help guide you and recommend ways to do things there's just, I don't know, you can't put a price on it. Let's just say it like
No,
that. You can't put a
you
price
can't.
on it. So,
And a good mentor will build you up and build your confidence, but a good
yes.
mentor will also tell you where you're falling short. See,
Yes. And that's
if
hard to
you
find. That is hard
it
to
is.
find.
And I, like a lot of people in their 20s who I thought I knew everything,
Yeah.
it's tough taking criticism.
Yeah.
Nobody likes it. And at first you think it's hurtful, but
Hmm.
later on, as you become mature, you realize, no, no, that person is teaching me based on their own experience.
Yeah.
They'd made the same mistake I just made,
Yeah.
and they're trying to help me from making it again. Again, failure is the greatest teacher. I think
Yeah.
you can go ahead. That was my Yoda moment. Failure is the greatest.
Is the greatest teacher. I hope that you
That's
make
right.
sure that gets in your book for sure. Now let
I
me
think
ask
so. I
you.
think it
Yeah.
would.
So there's so many, I mean, you're telling a story of something that happened with you in your 20s. Unfortunately, it happens to so many of us in our 40s and things and later
Mhm.
even. And many of our listeners feel they're behind who are in their 40s, 50s, 60s in terms of financial security or even a life purpose. Damon, how do you talk to someone at that point? Now, I know you deal mostly, you're working with millionaires, but what's the starting line when you're talking to someone who's in that situation?
I went through a career transition. I completely reversed course. And I feel this way for myself. And I felt this way when I transitioned because I went from a six-figure paycheck in my last nonprofit job to now earning nothing. Because in my current job, it's all fee-based. I eat what I kill.
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn how to get out and go hoof it every day. And it was scary.
Yeah,
And
I
I went
bet.
2 years before I really earned any real money.
Mm-hmm.
So here's one piece of advice I'd give to anybody who maybe you're considering a career transition. You know you're doing a job now and you're okay with it, but it's really just a means to get you. It's a bridge to get to where you really want to be. Build up a cash reserve. I built up a 3-year reserve of cash equal to, I thought, okay, how much does it cost my wife and I to run our household? How much do we live on every month? And I thought, okay, well, if we live on $5,000 a month for everything, then okay, I want 3 years worth of cash. Well, 5 times 12, that's 60. I need to save $180,000 in cash. That's 3 years worth of cash. And over the course of about 5 years or so, that's exactly what we did. Because I told my wife, this is what I want to do. And I'm not going to do it, though, unless you're on board with me.
Yeah.
Okay. This isn't just my decision. This is our decision. But she supported me. But I didn't just do it. I didn't just pull the trigger. I prepared myself for it. And even then, it wasn't enough. I mean,
Yeah.
you think you've saved enough, but build up your cash reserve. I would say if you don't have a cash reserve right now, you need to start with at least 3 to 6 months of cash on hand. Always have that as your emergency.
I have a question on that, and I love that, and I think that's a great way to start. What do you say to the people or the person living paycheck to paycheck?
I would say, and again, this might anger some people.
That's okay.
I could probably sit down with every single one of your listeners and find a way to save them some money.
Okay.
Vast majority of Americans do not budget. Most of you listening probably right now don't have a budget. This is just based on
So
statistics
true.
and things that I've seen.
Of course.
When you don't have a plan for how much money is going out the door, and you don't know that, now it's the end of the month and you are faced with an option. I can go out with my friends, or I can go out to eat, or I can save some money. If you don't know how much money you have left or how much you've spent that month, you may tempt it to go spend it on something else instead of save it. How many of you right now, you love that daily trip to Starbucks and you get that Starbucks every day? Well, it's just $3. Yeah, well, that's $90 a month. All right. That's over $1,000 a year that you're spending on coffee. Go to Target or someplace and get you a little Keurig machine, and you can have fresh coffee every day. And it costs a lot less than that. People spend money frivolously. So even the person who's living paycheck to paycheck, I'm not making light of your situation. I'm really not. And yes, I work with millionaires, but I teach all kinds of classes, and I teach budgeting classes to people who are in debt, to people who, because again, remember, this is why I do this work. I got into this work. My heart is to help people not make my mistakes. And I haven't lost sight of that. I still have it. That spark still burns, even though I work now with people who have lots of money. You need to take a look at what you're spending. You need to take a look at your budget. And I can promise you, I could look through your budget and I could probably find at least $100 to $150 worth of money that you're spending on stuff that you really don't need. Okay. Yeah, you might like it, but we're talking about trying to save. All right. We're talking about trying to build wealth. And instead of spending that $100 a month on something you don't need, what if you took 50 of that and saved it in your savings account, and 50 of it you put in an investment account? All right, let's say you're 40 years old right now. If you took $50 a month, starting from zero savings, $50 a month, that's $600 a year. All right, I'm just going to do a quick calculation here with my handy dandy calculator. You start with zero, and you're going to contribute $600 a year. And you're 40, so let's say you're going to do it for 20 years, and you're going to invest, relatively aggressively. Let's say you get an 8% annualized return over that time. In 20 years, starting from zero, saving just $50 a month, and for 20 years, consistently. Consistency will always outperform occasional brilliance. At the end of 20 years, your zero is now $27,000. Now, obviously, you need more than that to retire on, but what I'm trying to tell you is
But listeners, yes.
Small
so
changes, small incremental changes consistently performed over time grow mountains. All right? Think about this. How many of you every year you say, I'm going to lose weight this year? Okay, how much weight are you going to lose? I want to lose 100 pounds or 50 pounds. I want to lose 50 pounds.
Yeah.
And then you fail by February, right? Because 50 pounds, that's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
That's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Instead, no, I don't want to lose 50 pounds. There's 52 weeks in a year. I want to lose 1 pound this week. And then I'm going to lose another pound next week. You even get 2 weeks to not lose anything. But if you lost 1 pound every week consistently, at the end of the year, you've lost 50 pounds. You've got to break these big things up into the smallest bite-sized things that you can do. Don't tell me I can't save $50. I promise you. I can find $50 somewhere in your monthly budget that you could start saving.
And there you go. So that is how, listeners, that you shift your shame and your overwhelm and the idea around, I don't even want to think about it. You don't even want to address it because it feels overwhelming. You feel ashamed about it, whatever it is. That's how you empower yourself. That's how you get there.
That's right.
Damon, thank you for that. That was impactful for sure.
Yeah. And the last thing, don't worry what other people are doing. Okay? When other people are telling you, I'm doing this, you know what? People lie. People make things up to make themselves sound good. I see it. Even among some of my wealthy clients, they like to tell stories about themselves that paint themselves in a favorable light. You know what your friends aren't telling you about? Their failures.
Yeah.
They're not telling you those things. Don't worry about what other people are doing.
Yes, I love that tip. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Now, can we dive into how media came to be part of this? And it's such a great alignment from you, sounds like, from your history and what your passion is. How did being a show co-host. It's all about the money, honey, which listeners go and have a listen. I listened to it today. It's wonderful. What's the recurring theme or myth that you challenge there that our audience would benefit from, right? The show co-host. It's all about the money, honey. What's a recurring theme or myth that you challenge there that our audience would benefit from in that show?
I think because, the show is geared towards people who are close to retirement. And, and while we serve millionaires, the show is good for everybody. I think probably the biggest myth that I try to debunk on that show is that these concepts of investing, lowering your taxes, retirement, traveling all over the world. A lot of people think, oh, these are just reserved for the privileged few on earth, the rich people. That is so not true. Anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. It takes time. It takes discipline. It takes planning. You have to plan for these things. You cannot accomplish any big goal without having a plan for how you're going to get there. I do not have a single client that earns $1 million a year. Okay. The majority of my clients who are millionaires, you know how they became millionaires? They started working in their 20s and they just saved and saved. Most of them, their average income when they retired was around $85,000 a year. The super wealthy, yeah, many of them, it's dynastic wealth. They inherited it. There are about 10 million millionaires in the United States today. The majority of them did not win the lottery. They did not inherit their wealth. They started simply saving $50 a month. And then when their income went up, they saved more. They were disciplined. They saved, and invested over time. 40 years is a long time. 20 years is a long time. If you're just getting started at 40, even if you're just getting started at 50, it's never too late to start.
Never too late.
So, yeah. And the other thing that I always try to tell people is a lot of people think they don't have anything that is valuable. You have skills, you have talents. I love people who start businesses. I love business owners. It takes a special type of courage to go off on your own and say, you know what? I'm going to start something. And someday it's going to grow and I'm going to look back on it and this is going to be my legacy. I even have clients that retire and they think, well, how am I going to earn extra income? And I love to have the conversation. Well, you didn't just suddenly forget everything you knew. Could you become a consultant? Maybe you could start your own side business. And they never even given it a second thought. What's some skill that you have that people love? And if it's crocheting, fine. I have a client. She loved to knit and crochet. And so I encouraged her, well, maybe you love it. Maybe you could turn that into a business. 6 months later, she had her stuff featured in a consignment shop. She said, Damon, if you hadn't encouraged me, I would have never thought that anybody would have want to buy my stuff.
Look at that. I love it.
And then 6 months after that, she bought the shop.
Amazing.
So
That
in
is
a year,
amazing.
and this is a
Good for
skill
her.
that lots of people have, So don't ever discount or discredit your talents as useless or nobody wants that. You love to bake. I got another client. He bakes cookies. He bakes cookies and cakes for his family and friends. And he just thought he was doing it as a hobby. I encouraged him, man, Doug, these are some great chocolate chip cookies. You should sell these. And he said, you really think so? I said, well, I tell you what, let's do a test run. I'll buy a few dozen. I have client meetings coming up this month. I'm going to buy a few dozen of your chocolate chip cookies. You bring them up here. I want to set out cookies. We give little treats to all of our clients when they come in, little snacks, And I said, let me put them out and I'll put a business card of yours with each one of them just to let them know where they can get their cookies. We had so many comments on those cookies that this man started fielding all these calls from clients who wanted cookies for their birthday parties and cookies for their cookouts and cookies for parties. And he said, Damon, I had no idea. I said, Doug, sometimes it isn't just about the product, it's about telling the right person about your product. The right person who can put you in a room full of a bunch of people. And there's another life lesson. You need to seek out rooms. We talked about networking earlier.
Yeah.
You need to be in rooms full of people who will unapologetically shout your name to other people. All right. And if you don't have a room like that, or if you are that person, then you need another room. You need to find another room. If you're the smartest person in your group of friends, then you need to go find another group of friends where you're not the smartest, you know? So I love connecting people like that. I love seeing people succeed. It's amazing. People can earn money simply by taking things that they love doing and finding a way to monetize them. That's what a lot of young people are doing these days, especially a lot of these YouTubers. My
For
kids
sure.
love watching. They have found a way to record these little videos on God knows what, and they're making money off of it. I mean, it's amazing. I think it's
Yeah.
awesome. I think it's awesome.
I agree. I think it's awesome as well. In fact, that's our guest tomorrow. It does just that, help people get on YouTube and make that happen and helps them through
Well,
the
there you go.
steps.
There's
So
a plug. Well,
that's
listen to
exact.
that episode. There you
Yeah.
go.
It's going to be great. But I'm so, you've just resonated with me so much in all of that. And that's kind of, been my journey over the last probably 10 months, I would say. So I know it can be done. I'm living proof. You're living proof. You work with people every day who are living proof and, you helping. I want to go back to for a minute though, the media piece of your career.
Well, yeah,
And
yeah,
let's talk
yeah.
about that. I want to hear more.
Yeah, what's funny is, as I said, I was a singer all through high school and college, and
Yeah.
I was okay, and all through my life, though, I've always had a voice that people have said, you should be in radio. You sound like you have a radio voice. And I've done some voiceover work. I've done some commercials. I've recorded some audiobooks. Nothing that you're going to find on Audible or anything, but just for people. But when I joined Chapelwood, which is a story in and of itself, because I knew that I wanted to make the transition, and I had already passed the Certified Financial Planner exam. I had already gotten all of my licenses.
So
There's
you
another
knew
tip.
this was the path.
This is what I wanted to do. And
Yeah.
I knew that wherever I went, I was going to be asking, because I didn't have a book of business. I had no clients, and I had
Yeah.
no real skill or experience. I just had a bunch of book knowledge, and I could pass some tests. Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah.
I knew that I was going to be asking somebody to take a big gamble on me, a big risk. And if I'm going to ask someone to take that risk, I need to come to the table with more than just a knife and a fork ready to eat. I need to bring a side dish, okay? So you come to the potluck, don't just show up at the table ready to eat. You need to bring
Yeah.
something. And so what I thought I could bring was, well, I'm a good writer. I wrote grants as a nonprofit person, so I can write. I can market. I did that. What else can I do? Oh, I'm good at networking, and I've got lots of people that I can introduce. And I've got this voice, okay? I can help on the radio show. And so my very first day, my first week at Chapelwood Financial, Victoria Woods, the founder and CEO, she said, come with me to the radio studio. We're going to do our show. And our show is called It's All About the Money, Honey. And we went to the studio, my first time on a radio show with a live mic, and I was frozen. I didn't know what to say. I sat there. I didn't want to touch anything, And I loved it. By the end of the hour-long show, I was like, okay, I could get used to this. This is pretty sweet. Now we have the studio here in our office, and I can run across the hall and record a podcast whenever I want. But that's how I got into radio. And then when we brought all of the production in-house instead of going to the studio for the radio station, we had to get all the equipment. And there was a gentleman that we bought all the gear from, a used laptop, some condenser mics. He helped us put up the soundproofing stuff around our studio. And then he taught me how to use, in a crash course, the editing software that we use. I didn't know see, that's another thing. Don't think you have to know all the answers before you learn something and try something new. Just go in and do it. Fake it till you make it, baby. Just go in and do it.
I love it.
Pretty soon, because everyone else is going to look at you like, oh, well, Lisa must know what she's doing. She's got her own podcast, No, you make it up till you get good at it, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And now it's 11 years later. I write at least 45 new shows a year.
Wow.
We record the show live most of the time. Very rarely do we have to do a re-air. So I'm writing all these shows. I gather information from all over I just tell stories.
Yeah.
I just tell stories of people that we help. And that's how I got into it. And I think if you've got an interesting story to tell, make a little YouTube short video or go on TikTok or something and put it out there. You'll probably get 1,000 views just because somebody is interested. And if you've got enthusiasm and you smile a lot, people want to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I love it, and it's a lot of fun. And I get to
Yeah.
teach. I love to teach.
Yeah. That is apparent. Well, gosh, I feel like I could just continue this conversation for the next hour or two. It's been a joy just listening to your journey because you are a wonderful storyteller, and it has helped to keep the attention and really keep it intriguing. And I'm so grateful for that. And I'm anxious to hear more. I just want to hear more. What do you see yourself doing in the next? Like, what does the future look like for you? Do you have that
So
planned? Is it kind of
I do have it
winging it?
planned. In fact,
Yeah,
so here's
I could have guessed that.
my last piece of advice is this. Once you go down so be careful, because once you begin down the path of setting goals, you will become addicted to it.
Okay,
And
tell me more.
I started with a goal of getting out of debt, and then I accomplished that. And then I had a goal of, okay, this girl that I started dating is pretty awesome. My goal is to convince her to marry me. And I accomplished that. So next year we will be married for 20 years. And
Congrats.
my wife, who is the sweetest person on earth, I am not. Like, I don't know how she stands me, honestly. But one of our big goals was to take a big trip for our 20th anniversary. And just this week, I booked our flights first class. We're flying first class for the first time ever. We're
Mm,
going to England for 2.5 weeks next fall of 2026 for our 20th anniversary. It's the year I turned 50, so I'll be an old. My youngest son said when I turned 49 this year, "Well, Dad, look at it this way. Right now you're at the old end of young, but next year you'll be at the young end of old." I'm like, okay.
all right, I kind of like it. I mean, I
Number
kind of like
one,
it.
that's
Yeah,
pretty clever. And number two, you're
yeah,
disinherited. No money for you. But one thing that my wife did back when we were still poor, we created our vision board and we went to the local arts and crafts store. I bought a piece of white poster board and we sat down and we mapped out what are some of the big goals we have. And we had huge lists of things.
yeah,
Goals like everything from income amounts we wanted to earn to build our dream house to taking a trip, taking our kids to Disney World. And we dreamt big.
yeah,
Dream big. It takes the same energy to dream small and dream big, so you might as well dream big. In fact, set goals that are so outrageously huge that it's almost impossible that you'll ever achieve it because you will strive for those things. Because I have learned along the way, if you take incremental steps every day, take one action that's going to get you closer to your goal. So one of those actions for us was build our dream house. Well, we were on track to do that by 2020, but then COVID hit and everything shut
uh,
down and we
yeah.
moved it out. But we ended up moving into our dream house just 3 years later. And now we live on 9 acres of land on this beautiful piece of property in our beautiful
Amazing.
home. And we got that done. But where do I want to be? One of the items on my vision board, when I joined Chapelwood Financial, I did it. And I told Victoria, my intention is to someday take over a business for an advisor who's ready to retire. I want to be my own boss. I want to own a business. That is my goal. And I'm not going to let anybody dissuade me from that. I'm not going to work for anybody else anymore. So where will
Good
I
for you.
be in 5-10 years? I I will own this firm. That's my vision. And now I've been here long enough and I stayed with it and I worked hard enough that Victoria is confident enough that that's the transition path we're on. We've already had many of those conversations. Write down your big goals. Write them down. Don't just
Yeah.
talk about them. Write them down. Put them on a piece of paper or a big poster board, hang it up in your office, in your house where you see it every day, and work towards one of those goals every day. And if it's to lose weight, okay, what's one small thing? Instead, it's like, okay, well, I could eat the cupcake or I could eat the broccoli. That day, eat the broccoli. Okay? It's a small step, but you're going to feel great
That's right.
when you do it. So have goals, write them down, tell other people about it, and then take actions every day. Something
Amazing.
small
I love
to
that.
take a step toward that.
So we do a tiny dare at the end. We're going to jump in here. And we're going to do the 60-second drawer dash that we do with our guests, and it's fun. It's just a lighthearted sort of rapid fire. But talking about our tiny dare, that kind of we can do that first, right? So if you could generalize it, right? So it's what would each week our guests leave a listener with one small sort of meaningful challenge just to help them move toward clarity, courage, whatever it could be. It can be money. It could be not about money, however you want to frame it. What's a tiny dare, taking what you just said, something our audience could do in small steps each day or 10 minutes or less to rewrite their own either personal or financial story? What would you recommend?
Well, that's a great question. Here's one. First of all, if you don't have a LinkedIn account, you need to get a LinkedIn profile. Okay, go on LinkedIn and create a profile. It's a professional social media networking site. Facebook and X and all those are brain rot. Okay. Create a LinkedIn profile. Once you have that LinkedIn profile, I don't care if it's perfect. Make sure you put a picture up there if you can, but I don't care if it's perfect, but build it out.
Yeah.
Week. Go out and look for people on LinkedIn. And when you find somebody that is interesting, you look at their profile and you're like, ooh, who's this Lisa? Who's this Lisa lady? She's got a podcast. Wow, she's got her own business. Wow, look at that. Okay, look at that. And then reach out to Lisa. Send her a connection request with a note. Always send a note. Lisa, I was looking at LinkedIn. I saw your profile, and you look like somebody I need to know. You look like somebody I'm going to learn a lot from, and I'm trying to build my professional network. Can we connect? Meeting people is scary. Meeting people is hard. Only in the hard, scary things will you find growth. That's how we grow. So my dare is, after you've created your LinkedIn profile, or if you've already got one, reach out to one new person every week and introduce yourself and make that connection. And when they do connect, write back and say, you know what, can we meet? Can we talk? Can we meet on Zoom? Because you never know who that one person is going to be that is going to position you for greatness. You don't ever know where it's going to come from. You can only do that, though, if they know who you are. You can only do business with the people who know you're in business.
Yeah.
So meet people.
Yes. I love that. And
That's
if I
my
could
dare. Go meet
I
people.
love that dare. And it's free to do. You don't have to pay
Doesn't
to have a
cost
LinkedIn
anything.
profile. It doesn't cost anything. It's free to take. And I love that you said not every day, just once a week, one person a
Right.
week. Just
Simple.
take your time. It's simple. It's easy. That is so good.
And make
Thank
it
you
on
for
the same
that.
day every week. Say Monday morning. Monday morning at 9 a.m., I'm sending out my connection
This is
request,
what
and
I'm
I'm done
doing.
for the week.
I love it. I love it. That is perfect. And don't worry about who it is or what it is. Here's what I would say. If I could piggyback on that, I would say you're not trying to sell them anything. You're not trying to you just want to connect and you just want to get to know them. And I think that in and of itself is already the basis for a great foundational networking relationship. Anyway, That's my 2 cents. So let's do this.
Agree.
Let's do the drawer dash 60-second light heart. I'm just going to throw some questions at you and you just say the first thing that comes to your mind. Are you ready?
This could be scary.
They're not scary. I promise. I promise. Let's start with money, right? A money habit everyone over 40 should adopt.
Budgeting.
A financial mindset people should toss in the sock drawer for good.
I hate paying taxes.
Wait a minute. I got clarity on this. We're not saying don't pay your taxes.
Oh, I know exactly what you're saying.
Okay.
Here's why. Okay, here's why I say it.
Okay.
Stop thinking I don't like paying taxes. Instead, think the opposite. I want the most biggest, giganticus, biggest, humongous tax bill I can get, because the more tax you pay, the more income you're earning.
I love it.
Pray
Okay.
for a gigantic tax bill.
Okay. One money myth you wish more people would stop believing.
That only the rich can succeed. Stop thinking that.
Perfect. Now, you may have said this earlier, so I may already know the answer to this, but a book or a resource that shaped your view of wealth.
Well, I want to say Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but actually
Yeah.
the book that I read that truly changed my thinking, not just about wealth, but life in general, that was called Be Obsessed or Be Average by Grant Cardone.
Be Obsessed or Be Average by Grant Cardone. Write that down,
Correct.
listeners. Write it down.
Excellent book.
Love it. I'm going to get it myself. Your one sentence definition of real wealth.
Mental freedom. The freedom to know
good.
I can do whatever I want. Rich, wealth. Rich is not a word that defines an amount of money. Rich defines your ability to have the freedom to do whatever you want, whenever you want.
Awesome. Coffee, tea, or something stronger?
Coffee.
One
Wait, I
brain-
forgot the something strong. You said something stronger.
I did.
Bourbon.
Okay. and a choice of brand, or just any old bourbon will do?
Angel's Envy.
Okay. I'll have to pass it on to our son. So one brave step that you took that changed everything.
When I decided to leave my salaried job and career to do this, to become a wealth manager, knowing full well I would have to eat what I kill, it has changed my life immeasurably. And here's the thing. When I made that choice, a lot of people said, oh, you left behind your job. Wasn't that scary? Yeah, it was a little scary. But I knew I could always go back to fundraising. I had plenty of seed. This is why you build relationships. I didn't burn any bridges when I left.
Yeah.
Because if I had flamed out as a wealth manager, I could go back. So it really wasn't that scary. But I knew I was going to make it. I was going to fight. And that's what I did. It's persistence.
Love
Persistence and consistency beat talent, wealth, genetics,
Yeah.
whatever, all day long.
Yeah. Nothing good comes without risk, people. Nothing good comes without risk.
Exactly right.
That's my 2 cents. So make it happen. Make it happen. Well, Damon, gosh, you've just been a wealth, no pun intended, of knowledge and information and clarity for so many people, so many of our listeners, I'm sure, and myself included. I can't thank you enough for bringing that clarity and compassion to today's conversation. Your story, it just reminds us that wealth is more than numbers. It's identity, it's courage, and it's going to create possibility. So for everyone listening, here's what I say. What would your life look like if you stopped believing that you're behind and you started believing you're right on time? Reinvention doesn't have a deadline. It has a decision. So until next time, clean out the drawer, retire one belief, step into your life you're meant to live. Don't wait on it any longer. And until we meet again, stay brave. I love y'all. I'll talk to you soon. All right, Sock Drawer family, that's a wrap on today's Drawer Dump. Big thanks to our guests for sharing their story and their heart with us. Until next time. Don't forget, life's too short for mismatched socks. Retire the ones with holes, inspire the ones that still shine. See you soon.